Most queries will require you to join tables in order to get all the information that you need. So I've created this journal XX query, which includes just the journal header, and we're going to edit it. And you notice that I have already selected some fields. If I go to the query tab, I have one table here. I'm going to select a date as criteria. Let's just go ahead and so I've created this journal XX based on the journal header table. And I've put in some criteria, a date range, and of course the business unit, which we always want to put in to our queries. And I run it. And notice that all I have here is basically a journal ID, its date, year, and period. I don't really have anything that is giving me detail information. So in one of the ways in which we can do that is by joining another table that does have detail information. So in order to add tables to a query, I would have to go to the records table and look for it. Now, one of the things that I do know is that journal header has a hierarchy relationship, in other words, a parent-child relationship to its line table. Notice that journal is spelled J-R-N-L instead of spelled out. And you'll find that with a lot of the tables that sometimes you'll see it fully spelled out, sometimes it'll be an abbreviation, and so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to look for the line table. I know it'll begin with the L, so I will just kind of take a look here, and here it is, journal line. So I know that's there. And so what I want to do is go back to my query tab, because that's where I'm going to actually do a hierarchy join. Hierarchy joins join at the top, at the table level or record level. Table and record, we use those interchangeable. And, you know, I think I need to start over because I feel like I'm stumbling over everything. Okay, so.
All right. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so yeah, let me go back here. Okay, so I have this query, the journal XX query, and it has just one table in it, journal header. I've also have some criteria to pull a certain date range, and I run it, and I get very basic information. That most reports that you create, you're going to want more than just the journal ID, journal date, and the year. You're going to want to have some real information about these journals. In order to do that, I will need to do a join. There are three kinds of joins that a person can do in query. There's a hierarchy join, a related join, and an any join. And we'll talk and demonstrate each of those joins. For this type of information, I want to do a hierarchy join. A hierarchy join is a relationship between tables that is a parent-child relationship. In other words, many tables will have the format of header and line, or header and detail, so that the header gives you the basic information, you know, and then the line information will give you the more detailed. So let's see what we have for journal header. I'll click on hierarchy join. And notice there are many tables that it shows you in order to join to the journal header table. However, all I want to do is join journal line because that's my detail table. Later, when we talk about our extra resources, I'll mention that in Appendix A, you will find many of our core tables and their relationships, and that will help you in determining what tables go together. Also, at the end of the chapter on joins, you will see key points, and that page will show you tables that are typically joined through hierarchy joins and the other types of joins as well. So I will just click on that to join it. And what it does is automatically brings my record into the query tab. And it tells me the journal line data is joined with A. That tells me it's a hierarchy join. Anytime you see joined with A or joined with B or joined with C, that means I'm joining to this top table here, whatever I've put in before I joined it. And it tells you which one. So if I would have had like A, B, C, or D, it would have told me which of those tables I was joining this table to. So the beauty of hierarchy join is it does so much of the work for you. It brings the tables in, it opens it up. You don't have to add any special criteria for it. It's just automatically there for you. So now, in addition to having the ID, which we already have, and the date, I want to pick up some other information. I want to pick up the account and the department ID and the fund and program. And then also, because some of these are going to be project records, I may want to pick up project ID. And I can add additional fields to this, but for the sake of the example, we'll just stick with a few. Also pick up monetary amount so that we can see, well, what is the amount in these particular journals? Now that I've selected all my fields, I'm going to run the query again and see what we have. Well, this is great. We have all kinds of information in this query now. I can tell what account and department or project it belongs to. I can see an amount. And so this is a lot more information than just having a single table. Now that I have the results that I would like, I'm going to go over and use my Having tab as my shortest tab just to save this query. And that is what a hierarchical join is. It's hard to say, but it's a great way to bring tables together. Now let's go and look at another query and talk about related joins. I've created the query LedgerXX. And I've been playing around with this query a little bit. I've put some criteria in here, and I've run the query to make sure that my results are as expected. But again, it does not have a lot of information in it. For example, I may not know what this account means or what department that is. If I'm a manager, I may deal with my data at a higher level, and therefore I don't necessarily know what these different values mean, especially if I'm new to the university. Or perhaps I'm in another department and I know what my departments are, but I don't want to have to go back to a department spreadsheet to determine what these departments mean. So one of the ways in which I can overcome that is by doing a related join to get more information about these fields. I go over to the Query tab and open up my ledger table. I can see that there are a lot of related joins offered me to these various fields. Related join is always from field to field on different tables. So for example, If I wanted more information about department, I would want to join to the department table. If I wanted more information about the fund code, I could join on the fund table. How would I do that? Well, let's start with fund. I'm going to join fund by clicking on this join, this related join across from the fund code. I would always accept this top option of a standard join. The bottom one, the left outer join, is a more advanced type of join, and that is one where you can easily get results that you did not intend to get. That has happened. So we always say accept the default. The default is always on the top row. Click OK. And notice also it's telling me an effective dated criteria has automatically been added for this. That's something that I'm fine with. The reason why it gives that message is because effective dates are often on setup tables, which the fund table, the department table, GL account table, those all are setup tables, and so they are effective dated. We talk about effective dated rows in the manual, and in financials, they're mainly used so that the user can change a description as of a certain date. That has happened with our departments as we change the organization of our departments. For example, Office of Research has had a renaming, and so they would have a different row depending on what name they are currently using. Effective dated criteria allows me to use the most current record. So I click OK. And then it's automatically, again, opening up fund table for me in here. Now, whereas in a hierarchy join, it would say joined with A because it's joined from table to table or record to record. With a related join, it's joining based on a field. So in this case, it's telling me I'm joining the fund table based on the fund code. Here's the fund code right here. Now I already have selected the fund code when I created the query with Ledger, so I don't need to select that as a piece of information to include, or I'd have fund code on my query twice. But I would like to have the description of the fund code, so I'm going to click on that and add it to my query. So now if I go over to the Fields tab, I see Desker is here from the B table. I'm going to slide back to query for a moment so you can see the aliases on these two tables. Ledger, which was my first table that I added, is A. Fund table is my B table. So I go back to Fields again, and here's description. The only problem that I have now with the description is it's way down the list, and it's got a very generic naming convention. So I may not know when I'm running my query that that description belongs to fund code. Let me run it and show you what I mean. Notice it says ENG University. Well, is that the department? Is that the fund? Is that the account? Let me put this description right next to the fund code and change the header a little bit so that you know what it is. So I'll click back on Fields, and I'm going to hit reorder sort so I can move that description up right next to the fund code. Notice fund code is third in the list, so description will need to be fourth in the list. I click reorder sort, and over here on the left, I can change the column order. So 1, 2, 3 for fund code. Description will be 4. I'll type a 4. Then I'll click OK. And you can see how automatically it has added the description right after fund code. It still has the generic heading text of Desker. So what I want to do there is change that description so that it says fund description. I'm going to click on edit. And on the left side of the page, I'm going to pick text. You always need to pick text if you're going to change the header. And I'm going to type in here, fund. Make sure I have my caps lock off. Fund Desker. And because I know description is usually a long field, I'm going to go ahead and write that out instead of having it as an abbreviation. So now you see it says fund description. I'm going to save my query. I'm going to run it to see how it looks. And here it is. Fund description, ENG University, right next to the fund. So I know that 1000 and then 1 is the ENG fund code for the university. Let's add another description. Let's do a related join for department. Go back to my query tab and I close up fund table. I've gotten what I need for that. I'm going to open up Ledger again to see where my department table is, department ID is. Here it is under Ledger. And I'm going to go across here and join department table to get my department description. I click. I'm going to accept this default. I'm going to acknowledge that, yes, it's effective dated, and that's fine. And now I've got department table opened as my C table. I'm going to come down here. As I said, I already have department. We already saw department ID in the ledger. So all I want to do is add description. Click on description. I go to my fields tab. Description, once again, is way at the bottom. So let's move that description after the department ID. Department ID is the second item in the list. So I will want to make description the third item. I click on reorder sort. I put, that's 1, 2, and I'll make that 3. On the left side, I will say OK. And now my description for department is right next to the department ID. I want to change this description, so I will click on the edit, select text, and add department. And I think I will just leave that one abbreviated. Department description. Say OK. It says department description here. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. And now here I have department, and here's department description, fund description. This is becoming a much more readable report that will be great for my managers or great for people in other departments who want to be able to understand what these particular fields mean. So that is a related join. We've already saved it, so I don't need to do that again. Now let's go back to the journal. I'm going to search it, and there it is. It popped it up to uppercase for me. I want to look at journal, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to have a department description and a fund description on my journal report. So I'll click edit on journal, and I'm going to go over to my query tab to look for a related join. The information I want, the department and the fund, are all in journal line. So I'm going to scroll down here, but notice that for journal, I don't have those wonderful related joins that I had on the ledger query. Some tables have related joins, some don't. I have some here, but they don't look like they're particularly helpful to me. So what am I going to do? I can't do a hierarchy join because I'm not joining on a table. I've already done that. I can't do a related join because there's nothing here for me to join. So what I have to do then is an any join, A-N-Y. We call it that because you can join anything that has common fields together in order to bring the information into your query. So where do I find records? I go to the Records tab. And I know when I want to look for something in the way of department. Once again, just to remind you, these core tables like department table, GL account, fund table, those are all listed in your Appendix A of the query manual. So I happen to know that department table is spelled like that to search for it. If I wasn't sure, I could just look for part of it and hunt down the list and see. And thankfully, there's only one for me to choose from. Sometimes you'll find many tables with a similar start to the name. So here's department table. And because this is not a brand new query, because this is not the first record in the query, it's going to tell me that I am joining this record to records in an existing query. So I will click on Join Record. And then it's asking me, well, what record do you want to join it to? Remember that whenever we're doing joins, especially as new query creators, you always want to use standard join. And I would say probably 80% of the time, and that's just my own estimate, you would want to use a standard join. So I know that the department ID is in the journal line table. It's not in the header. Remember, the journal header only had like the journal ID, the journal date. So journal line. And it automatically found the join criteria. And most of the time you can trust this. There are a few occasions when the join criteria won't work exactly as they give it to you. But those are listed in your book at the end of the chapter on joins. So I'll say add criteria. And there's my old friend, the effective date message. I'll say okay. And once again, it's adding it directly into my query on my query tab. And it's showing me department table and it's opened up so I can select my description. So once again, I will select it and I will go to my Fields tab. And there's my description. It's not very close to department, so let's do a move on it. So let's see, department is the 7th column. So I want description to be 8. So there it is. It's right next to it. And then let's give it a little bit better description for the header. Click on Edit. Click on Text. If I didn't click on text, no matter what I put here, it's only going to show what the RFT short is. RFT short is the default, and it will not change even if I make a change here. So I must always have text selected. And there we go. I'm going to save it and run it. And there's my department description. Let's do one more any join. And let's do it with fund. We know we don't have any related joins, so I'm going to go straight over to the Records tab and look for fund. Notice that my other table is still showing there. whatever I did last. Okay, so now here we go. We know it's not fund lang, it's fund table. So again, I'll join record. I know I'm joining it to journal line because that's where I have a fund code. And it's going to give me these lovely auto join criteria. And effective date. So I just do 2 clicks and then here I am, and here's my fund description. Opened up nicely as D. Notice all the aliases are as we add them to the query. So here's Desker way down here at the bottom. We're going to go through that exercise of moving it up next to fund and then changing the header text. So fund is number 9. So I click on reorder sort. I'm going to make this 10 because fund is 9. Say OK. And then I'm going to find it here again. It's fund description. I'm going to click on edit. Click on text. And change this to fund description. Now keep in mind that if you're outputting your query to Excel, that you can, if you don't change these headers here, you can change them in Excel. But if you're running the query a lot, you want to make sure that you make the changes in the query. You don't want to have to continually dress up your Excel spreadsheet if you're running it on a daily basis. So I'll click Save, click Run. And now here are my descriptions right next to what they are describing and with a really good column header to them. So that's related joins. So just to review, we have 3 kinds of joins. We have hierarchy join, which is a parent-child relationship. You will see that with tables like journal and voucher and PO. You'll have journal header, journal line, voucher header, voucher line, and PO header and PO line. With Ledger, you'll see a lot of your related joins. And from time to time, you will see related joins in other tables that you can use. You'll just have to go down the list on the Query tab when the fields are displaying and look to see if there's anything that is useful. But you can always do an any join. And any joins are something we had to do with Journal because it didn't have any related joins. And with other tables, we might need to do that too, to bring in information that they share. It's all about sharing information that you can make an exact match with joins. In the manual, you'll notice that it gives you some more key points on joins, and will tell you when certain join conditions don't work together. That's in the chapter on joins, which is chapter 5, and it's called Working with Multiple Tables.